Anthony Fauci goes before House COVID-19 panel over coronavirus origins. Anthony Fauci detailed the threats he received during his time as the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, describing death threats against him and threats against his wife and daughters. Dr. Anthony Fauci clarified that the 6-foot guidance for social distancing given during the beginnings for the COVID-19 pandemic did not come from him, but from the Centers for Disease Control, CDC. Fauci, who repeated the guidance during the pandemic, once said that there was no science behind it, but he meant that there were no clinical trials to back it up. It had little to do with me since I didn't make the recommendation, and my saying there was no science behind it meant there was no clinical trial behind that, Fauci said. Raskin takes swipe at Trump and the Republican Party as he apologizes to Fauci. Democratic Congressman Jamie Raskin took a swipe at the Republican Party for their treatment of Dr. Anthony Fauci by comparing how Republicans treat Fauci to how they have treated former President Donald Trump, though Raskin did not mention Trump by name. Raskin apologized to Fauci for the fact that some of our colleagues in the United States House of Representatives seem to want to drag your name through the mud. They're treating you, Dr. Fauci, like a convicted felon. Actually, you probably wish they were treating you like a convicted felon. They treat convicted felons with love and admiration. Some of them blindly worship convicted felons, Raskin said. The accusation being circulated that I influenced the scientists to change their minds by bribing them with millions of dollars in grant money is absolutely false and simply preposterous, Fauci said, noting he had no input into the content on a paper published in March 2020 that discussed the possible origins of the virus. I cannot account, nor can anyone account for other things that might be going on in China, which is the reason why I have always said and will say now I keep an open mind as to what the origin is, Fauci said Monday. Under the guise of investigating the origins of COVID-19, House Republicans have abdicated their responsibility to objectively examine how COVID-19 came to be, and instead weaponize the concern the origins of a lab-related origin to fuel sentiment against our nation's scientists and public health officials for partisan gain, Ruiz added. Americans know hypocrisy when they see it. Wenstrup criticizes Fauci's decisions during pandemic. Distancing made sense, but the 6 feet was arbitrary, Wenstrup said, noting that the rule prompted schools and workplaces to shut down. But Americans know hypocrisy when they see it, Wenstrup said in his opening remarks. Fauci is not a comic book supervillain, House Democrats say ahead of pandemic hearing. The representatives blasted claims of Fauci's involvement in starting or covering up the pandemic as a dangerous and cartoonish narrative. The Select Subcommittee has become an echo chamber of extreme narratives intended to vilify our nation's public health officials, rather than tackling forward-looking reforms to strengthen public health data collection, improve future testing and contact tracing capacity, or address the inequities that we laid bare by the pandemic. Our majority colleagues have spent time and taxpayer dollars fishing for evidence to back up their most extreme members' claims about Dr. Fauci, said Democratic Rep. Raul Ruiz, a ranking member on the panel.